Friends, good afternoon from the California Republic. Normally we do not do an episode on Monday, but today I wanted to come in and say thanks because there's a significant amount of gratitude that I personally have for this specific day, Memorial Day 2017, and really every Memorial Day. And the reason why is I want to say thank you to the folks that have volunteered their time, volunteered the time they have with their family, and some that obviously have made the ultimate sacrifice. And I wanted to come on and not only say thank you and express some gratitude, but I wanted to share two items that really mean a lot to me and why this is not just a day off, a time when I can go running, as you can see, that's what I've done today, or do some work, catch up, whatever people do on a day like Memorial Day or barbecues. I wanted to share two items on my connection to this day. And this connection is to my father. I've shared with you guys many times that my father was a rocket scientist. Literally, no exaggeration. You know the old joke that he or she ain't no rocket scientist. My father, John, he put men literally on the moon, no exaggeration. He worked on every Apollo mission, and he worked on a number of other aircraft. He worked for Grumman, now called Northrop Grumman. But before he did that, he was an engineer in the U.S. Navy. So I want to share two things with you guys that I am incredibly proud of. And the first is, this was part of one of the teams that my father worked on. John worked when he was at Grumman, but the experience that he brought to the table of this, getting this being part of the Seymour team, which was an early AWACS project, effectively. And he literally, like, when he would come home, there was an office that was locked. There was stuff he couldn't show us. And this is the kind of stuff that was hanging in that office, or he brought from his time at Grumman. As you can see, this is the old logo from his Grumman days. Anyway, I was fortunate enough when I cleaned out the family home that was sold very early on in my life. I was fortunate enough to go and take and clean out some of that stuff. And this is one of the things that I've always wanted to keep. And this is still in the frame that he picked when he was still on this earth. So this is the first thing I wanted to share with you guys, and how I keep my father alive, the Navy, as well as his work with Grumman. This is hung up in my home. I've actually taken it off the wall today to share it with you here in my man cave, also known as my garage. So that is the first thing I wanted to share with you guys here. And then the second thing I wanted to share with you, and I will admit this is a little harder to share with you because this is the day that he passed on. And if you have been fortunate enough to have a family member in the U.S. military, you know that the president, who cares who the president is, but when the president, when your loved one passes on, you get one of these. And this is from the President of the United States of America at the time. It was Jimmy Carter when my father passed on. And I share this with you, send this to the family, and I got the presidential seal up there, and it recognizes their contribution to the armed forces. In my father's case, it was the U.S. Navy. And they also, obviously, when you go and you're buried, the military will actually have a military burial as well as a flag that goes with your burial. And in the case of my father, it didn't happen early on, but in the case of my father, there's a tradition that the U.S. military does, and doesn't matter which branch, but what they do is they put a military marker on the grave, and that's really up to the family, and it's something that wasn't done back when my father was interned, but ultimately we went and got it, and now he's got the military marker as well as his family marker on his grave. So I wanted to come on and just share this with you because I'm proud of my father, as you can imagine. But I'm also really proud of so many people that I've met over the years that have made these sacrifices and have made my life better. Like, you've met some of the people that I've brought on the show who are part of the military. You've met some people behind the scenes that have made me a better person, as well as a show. Like, for example, I have an amazing story to share with you guys. It's almost unbelievable. a very good friend of mine was getting married, and he decided to do his bachelor party in Dublin, of all places. And so this is when I was in technology. I wasn't doing this, and we were living in New York, and so we went over to Dublin, and you do as you do in a bachelor party, and we got to know these this bar, and it became basically our bar, and ultimately we would spend close out the night there. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but we'd close out the night there, and then one night after they would close the doors and they'd let us stay in there and continue to drink, there was this couple that was kind of at the end of the bar, and it's like they weren't part of us, and we're just a bunch of jackasses from New York, think we own the world. So we go down there, and I go sit down and introduce myself to these people, and it was this couple. Turns out they're from New York City, and I get to know them. I was in New York, they're in New York, so of course we're going to chat. And the reason why they were there was even more, just kind of blew me away and sobered me up. It was Captain William Colon, and Captain William Colon was serving in Desert Storm. And he wasn't just like any enlisted guy, and it was a lifetime career for him, but what he was doing was training the Iraqi police back in the day. And this was tour, I'm not exaggerating, tour 10 for him, something ridiculous like that. And the reason why he was in Dublin is he could only get enough time to see his wife, and his wife flew from New York to Dublin, and then they spent a long weekend in Dublin, and then he went back to Iraq. And that was the start of an incredibly long friendship that I feel fortunate enough to have with Captain Colon. He now works at Walter Reed, and the things he does and he gives back to this country is ridiculous. So I want to thank my father John, and I want to thank Captain Colon and all the other people that I've come in contact with in our armed forces and armed forces around the world for the sacrifices that they make. And I hope you guys remember the importance of what this day is, more than just the barbecue you are going today. So with that, I'm going to close this out by saying tomorrow I am going to feature another vet, and you've seen him on the show before, but you do know that he was a vet. He served in Vietnam, and the lessons that he took from Vietnam are the lessons he applied to I don't want to give it away, but the lessons he applied to his career that he more than excelled in. So look forward to an interesting interview tomorrow on the show with a U.S., I believe he was in the Navy, so a U.S. Navy vet who's going to share some interesting stories with you guys tomorrow. So with that, I'm glad we got some time together here on Memorial Day. I am going to get back to the business of running and see if Kuma was around here somewhere, and perhaps he wants to spend some time reflecting upon the day. So I wish you a great day, and thank you to all the military out there and what you do for us and give us this opportunity to have days like today. Until I see you tomorrow with a vet, Bish Beta.